Hello and welcome back to the Dojo of Gain. Alright, so I'm going to be reacting to a reaction video, but I saw this on my feed and it interests me a bunch. I do want to watch it and I figured why not, since I'm already plugged into the stream, I might as well watch it. We have Psychology in Seattle reacting to Andrew Tate. Now, I used to watch this guy's channel a lot for like the 90 Day Fiancé content. He does a lot of good psychological analysis, But the only reason why I sort of stopped watching it is because he's very PC, talk about fat phobia, a lot of these things that are basically just crybaby stuff in my opinion. They're not real science, but I do understand why he does it. It's part of the business, part of keeping the broader audience and making sure nobody's offended so that he can grow his audience quicker. And it is a business move, so I can respect the hustle at the same time. I just prefer to keep it real all the time. But I am very interested to see what you have to say about Andrew Tate and when he's lying or if he has some kind of psychological disorder that he recognizes. It'd be very interesting. But before we get into this, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Thank you.
I'm the one calling the shots. I don't get stuck in the box. Feel like I've been through a lot.
No, maybe. You've always answered in long explanations, so I don't understand what you're saying there. But if we look at the emotional content, if we look at what is prompting him to do this, he's rejecting the question. That is what's happening. He is, in his way, refusing to answer the question. And I forget the question he's refusing to answer.
Things to just get attention. Do you understand? Do you agree with my point?
Not always. Listen, there's men that are funny, that aren't that attractive, that can get attention. It's like an energy thing.
I disagree.
You disagree?
I disagree. I know what you're saying. They can get attention, but I don't think anyone would look at a funny guy who lives with his mom and call him a high-value male. Whereas if you get a really, really beautiful...
There are so many people that would look at a very funny person who still lives with their parents and consider them to be a high-value partner. Because we cannot reduce people to living at home with their parents as the only thing about that human being. This person could be caring and loving and interesting and funny and generous and has a great relationship with their parents. This is not even mentioning that in various cultures around the world, people stay at home their entire lives. It's just not a stigmatized thing like it is in the West. You could be very successful while you live at home. You could have a home business or, I don't know, there's all sorts of... So this reduction is interesting. And people who garner a lot, from what I understand, he's very charismatic among the manosphere, and particularly younger people. So let me talk about that for a second. So when we, as a society in the West, inject a bunch of weird ideas about gender into our children, in our family homes, in advertising, on the internet, at schools, in politics, when we inject all these ideas into children, one being that in order to be a worthy human being, if you're a man, if you're a boy, you need to be all the things that he is ascribing to. And if you're not, you're worthless. You're either a girl or you're weak or whatever is the opposite of the ideal masculine man. And that is the worst thing you could be. You could be the best person in the world, but if people see you as a girl or as weak, you're nothing. You are nothing. You're worthless. No one will love you, no one will like you, and you should hate yourself, is the message that we give our boys. Okay. So then, as a boy, you start to try to enact the ideal. You try to become the ideal as a man, as a boy, and you can't achieve it because it's really unachievable, and you really fall short of it, and you're suffering on the inside. You hate yourself. You want someone to come along and help you, and you start reaching out to people, and everyone's just telling you, look, you're fine, or maybe you should stop being so aggressive or something. And they don't seem to be really resonating with you. It doesn't seem to fit the advice you're getting or the care you're giving, the therapy you're getting. It just doesn't seem to fit because you are basing your life on trying to be the toxic masculine ideal. And no one seems to be acknowledging it, even though all these subtle messages. Now, you don't frame it that way. You don't wake up in the morning and say, I'm trying to be a toxic man. What you're trying to do is you're trying to establish self-esteem. You're trying to establish worth, but it's based on a premise of toxic masculinity. You don't know that, but that's what's happening. And when you reach out to people, they give you all this advice because the conscious advice that people will give will be, you have worth. You don't need to be a toxic male. You don't need to be aggressive. You can have emotions. You don't have to be successful to have worth in society. You don't have to have tons of money to be a worthy human being. But the child, the boy, has been inundated. 99.9% of the messages that they've received about gender have been the opposite of what they're being told. Okay. Then Andrew Tate comes along and goes on the internet and starts talking assertively without any apologies what society has been injecting into boys. And they go, finally, someone is saying it, and he has answers, and he is the toxic male ideal. So he is the leader I've been looking for. He is the leader that society has been subtly telling me I should be attracted to. And it feels good. And everyone starts to attack him. Everyone starts to attack the child. And they're like, but it feels right to me. He feels right. He feels like the role model I've been looking for that is very much lacking in our society. So that's how I see it. If we want to, but what will happen is that we cancel Andrew Tate and we say, okay, job done. I have succeeded. No, we have not, because we have not stopped socializing our boys in a particular way, really all children in a particular way. Now, you as parents out there, you might be saying, well, I don't do that to my children. And if you aren't, then great, fantastic. But you cannot do anything about society, schools, peers, the internet. It's all there. Is it changing? Yes. But it's not gone, clearly, since you have middle school boys who love Andrew Tate. I mean, there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. Not all middle school boys, of course, but many. So we should be looking at ourselves, not Andrew Tate. If we change ourselves and society, if we really do that, and we've been trying and we've been putting effort into it for many decades, but once we achieve that change, the Andrew Tates of the world will just not exist. They will emerge and no one will pay attention to them because they won't be touching on a nerve that is being neglected.
Girl, even
Okay, so there is some truth in what he said, but there's also a lot of fallacy. Now, he is a psychologist, so he's a lot smarter than me, but at the same time, he speaks with a filter in order to make sure that he's following a politically correct narrative. Now, the idea of living at home being something bad is definitely culturally specific to the United States. Now, I'm not sure, maybe they do this in the UK as well, considering our culture does come from the UK, but many countries around the world, people do live with their parents, even professionals, doctors, whatever. They live with their parents until they see fit to do otherwise, maybe when they have children or whatever. They don't really have that culture where the parents want to throw the kids out. It's more like an American thing. You're 18, it's time to get out of here. Basically, it goes back to what I say about Americans being lazy and wanting to do the minimal effort. So as soon as the parents see the out that they can relax, they want to throw the kids out instead of continuing to be who they are. But as far as what he's saying with gender, yes, men should be able to express and feel emotions, but they should do it to a specific extent, right? Maybe in private. They should also be able to control them, not just let them loose like a woman, because male emotions are much more dangerous and much more violent and aggressive. And this more aggressive personality type is not something that's being indoctrinated through society. It's actually something that is genetically and evolutionarily ingrained into males, and this has been demonstrated even in other species. For example, they did a test on chimpanzees where they checked how females play and how males play. They even tried with dolls, so the female dolls would treat the dolls as if they were babies, take care of them, and the males would bash and make the dolls fight and crash against each other. And it's basically the same with males without any type of indoctrination or societal influence. Males have intrinsically masculine behaviors because it's part of their biology. It's part of the purpose that they have in a species. So a lot of the traits that males have is part of the necessary purpose of the species for survival. For example, if you go to a tribal civilization in the middle of the jungle that has never been exposed to any societal exposure, whatever, societal influence, that's what I wanted to say. They've never been exposed to anything. They will still have masculine men and feminine women because it's intrinsic within our species. It's not society that's influencing it. Not to go off topic, but for example, when they talk about fat phobia and they're like, men are not really attracted to overweight women because society promotes beauty standards. No, it is also biologically programmed because men want to reproduce with healthy women, which is why they find overweight women unattractive, because they won't make healthy babies. Well, they have less of a likelihood of making healthy babies than a healthy woman. It's just basic biology. It's not anything societally influenced. Attraction is not as much societally influenced as people want you to believe. Unfortunately, a lot of things in life are unfair, and it's going to be like that forever. And if you try to change it, you're going to have a lot of issues. For example, the younger generation now, the men are very weak. They will not be able to effectively protect their families. And if we have some kind of an invasion from another country, you know what's going to happen.
If she has nothing else going for her, she'd be considered high value.
I wouldn't say high value, no.
Yeah, we can disagree. That's fine.
Are you a good partner?
The best, of course.
The best. What makes you the best?
Okay, so that's the open-ended question. What makes you the best partner? Okay, so then he proceeds to reject the question. So if I was to take a guess, it's because it requires him to sell himself to her. That's the kind of premise of the question. She's like, what makes you the best partner? Prove to me that you would be a good partner for me or to women in general. And that puts him at a disadvantage, is my guess. And so he doesn't want to say, well, I don't like that question because it puts me at a disadvantage and it makes me feel weak, and I don't like that. I don't want to be in a position where you could reject me, where I could say, I am a good partner because of these things, and then she would have the ability to say, well, actually, in our conversation, you aren't that. So she would have the upper hand. I can't tolerate that because I'm too insecure and or I've been abused and am constantly trying to assert my dominance over other people. And so I'm not going to answer that question, but I can't say why I don't want to answer the question. So I will be very sneaky and tricksy with my response. Let's see.
Is she the best?
Now it's time for the Andrew Tate fans to get a little mad at me, but I actually do agree with him on this point. I do think that when somebody has an over-elevated sense of self-confidence, it's actually that they're hiding something. They're hiding underlying insecurities. Everybody has insecurities, so it's impossible to not have any. There's literally nobody on earth who doesn't have insecurities. That's a lie. And I do believe that Andrew Tate's personality is an exaggeration of who he really is, and I've believed he's even admitted this many times, so I'm not saying anything crazy, but that is why he would say things like, I'm the best, or I never make mistakes, which is impossible. But it's part of his character as well, so I do think there's some underlying insecurity there, personally.
Besides you and the police, I don't often answer questions.
Okay. He's definitely had a police interview in the past.
I don't like to answer open-ended questions because I feel like they're a trap.
Why?
Because when you speak a lot, it's how you end up getting trapped, right? It doesn't matter if it's a police interview or anything else. The more you talk, the worse.
The other possibility is that he has been burned by conversations where someone asked him open-ended questions, or he was burned by his own vulnerability or something, and so he's really quite afraid of those questions, but I don't know.
I want you to be very, very specific with your parameters within the questioning, because that allows me to answer them in a way which makes me look the best.
I don't know, I feel like
Interesting. So he, I think, just admitted to what I was surmising, that he wants to have control. He's like, ask me a specific question because then I will know how to answer in a way that'll make me look the best. Make me look the best. So that's his orientation, always looking the best, coming across as dominant, superior, as above it, as better than.
very confident man that was very sure of himself would just answer.
Do you think so?
Mm-hmm.
If
Because I feel like you're just being calculated.
Okay, a very innocent man, would he just
Okay, so this is really interesting because she said a very short version, concise version of what I'm saying, which is a confident man would feel confident enough to answer that question. It's similar to a confident man or person doesn't feel like they have to adhere to traditional gender roles to establish their worth because they like themselves enough. For men out there who are trying to be a strong male, if that's what you're aspiring for, you should be able to cry because real men don't worry about what other people think of their emotions. Real men have the confidence enough to cry and be vulnerable and to ask for things. Real men who are strong enough, who aren't worried about being called weak, are able to ask for directions, ask for help, go to the doctor, admit when they're wrong. That's what a confident man is like. They can cry, they can sob, they can be hurt, they can admit to vulnerabilities because that's what humans are. And insecure men will cover that up. So anyway, she says confident man would just answer the open-ended question. So this will be fascinating to see how he will answer this.
Okay, again, some definite truth and a little point where I disagree. So, confident man will be able to express himself freely. That is true. And being able to cry and express your emotions, I believe that's true. But amongst other men, right? Now, if you are going to cry or express weakness in front of a woman, you want to make sure that you have a deep connection with that woman. You want to make sure that you've been with her for a long time and that she knows your character, because if you're doing this with a girl you just started dating like a month ago or something like this, she's definitely going to lose respect for you. Women do not want a man who's weak and unable to handle pressure. That is a complete turnoff to women. Women do have specific biological things that they're turned on by, just like men do. Whether or not society influences them or whether or not society tries to change it, it's still going to be engraved in the DNA, so there's nothing you can really do about it. And like I said before, there's a lot of things in life that are unfair, and being PC is a huge lie that they're putting on children right now. Yes, if you cry and act weak, women will not be attracted to you. Being a strong, capable man is what makes women attracted to you, so that depends. Do you want to be attracted to women or not? Now, are you emotional and you cry a lot? Yeah, you can do that with your friends. You can do that in private. You can do that with your family. But you're not going to do that with a girl that you just met, because she's going to be unattracted most of the time. Now, not all women will be. That's a generalization. Obviously, there's women that will be perfectly fine with it. Just there's no specific way to separate the two genders. There's extremes in all genders, and there's in-betweens and everything. So I'm not saying that women are a specific way and men are a specific way, but I'm saying, generally speaking, it's not a good idea.
Makes me look the best.
I don't know, I feel like a very confident man that was very sure of himself would just answer.
Do you think so?
Mm-hmm.
Because
I feel like it's just being calculated.
Okay, a very innocent man, would he just answer the police?
Yeah. If he's innocent.
He ridicules her. He's laughing at her. He's making her feel stupid and small and ridiculous, which is an interesting tactic on a first date.
No?
No, of course not.
But he's innocent.
Doesn't mean anything. Innocent and guilty in and of itself is a false paradigm. You have to understand that the world we live in, there is no black and white. There's no such thing. It's all a sliding scale. If they want to find you guilty, they'll find you guilty. I guarantee you sold something to a...
So I can't tell why he's going down this road. It could just be that he wants to establish he knows things, or that he's superior, he's trying to belittle her, or he really is connecting what he's talking about to her question earlier, which was, okay, you state that you're a good catch, that you're a good partner. What makes you a good partner? He's basically saying that there's a danger there, that when someone asks you that question, what makes you a good person for me? Essentially, how will I accept you or not accept you? Prove yourself that you are acceptable to me is kind of the question, I guess. I mean, that's not precisely what, it's not that harsh, but that is kind of what's being asked. I don't think it was malicious on her part. I think it was out of curiosity. But that idea, and then if he perceives it as akin to a police investigation that is trying to catch you, that's trying to corner you, and get an innocent person to be found guilty, that sounds like he feels threat. He's scared of the question. That is the emotional theme potentially, but I don't know. It's hard to know what's going on in his heart.
Mate on eBay.
Okay, so yeah, probably considering shortly after, like a year after or something like that, he did end up getting arrested, so there might be a connection there. But I'm just going to leave it there. I just wanted to react to a little bit because I have a lot of things to do. I can't just be here reacting to videos all day, but I will catch you guys next time. I'm trying to be as frequent as possible. Hopefully you guys enjoy. If you did, like, comment, subscribe. If you want any more videos like this, let me know. Thank you so much.